Right, okay. Welcome everybody to this Executive Cabinet meeting. I think you all know the rules around hybrid meetings and what have you, so we'll crack on. First item is apologies for absence. Just had apologies from Councillor Peter Wilson, who is sat on a motorway somewhere in a traffic jam and would love to be here compared to where he is. Because he is locked in the car with the MP, so good luck to him. It'll be a long journey wherever they're going. Heading towards Wales, last I heard, so there you go. Obviously not the M6 is shut. Right. We move on to then the minutes of the last meeting, dated Thursday the 14th of July. Any items anybody wants to query? Any matters arising? Any issues anybody's got? In which case, can somebody propose those as a true record? It has to be a cabinet member. Sorry, Deirdre.
Move it, Chair.
I admire your enthusiasm, though.
Move it, Chair.
Seconded, yeah. All those in favour, cabinet members? Thank you. Excellent. Steady. Apprentice over there. She can really take over. Any declarations of interest anybody's got? No. Any public questions? Nina?
Not received, Chair.
Excellent. Right, the first item is an item for Councillor Wilson on Meals on Wheels service, and unfortunately you're going to get me doing it instead, which means it won't be as good, it won't be as professional and polished, but I will do my very best. So, it's on agenda page 9. Obviously, it has the recommendations in paragraphs 2 and 3 that the Council looks to enter into a 2-year contract with the existing provider, iCare, to cover the period from the 1st of January 23 to the 31st of December 24, and the authorities delegated the executive member for resources, the aforenamed Peter Wilson, to approve eligibility criteria for the scheme to ensure it remains targeted at those most in need. The report, as you can see, documents that we have been running this scheme for a number of years. It details how it's been done by iCare since 2018. It documents in paragraph 10 about the market testing that we did around the chest, and they advertised it for 2 weeks from September the 10th to September 24th. And we only had interest from 2 providers. One was iCare, the current provider, and one other who had no previous experience of delivering this kind of service and didn't really have in place the resources to do it. Obviously, iCare is a quite long-established company. They are trained in various facets, not just the actual Meals on Wheels, but some of the care wraparound that we do alongside that. And therefore, given the options available, it's proposed that we use iCare for the next 2 years. There is a breakdown around the eligibility in clause paragraph 16, where it details who the scheme's aimed at, mainly older customers, that they have to live in Chorley Borough, and they must fit one of those criteria about age, living alone, about the help of the preparedness for doing hot meals. And then what I think is interesting is the stuff detailed in paragraphs 17 through to 24 that details where the current service is particularly provided, how many people are accessing the service, the fact that there's some interesting numbers in there because I think it doesn't exactly map where you would expect to see the service provided. What it does do is it details that it's fairly spread around the borough. There's only 2 areas, I think, Buckshaw and Whipple, where they're not doing a current service, although from what Deirdre has said previously, you're doing that service all yourself, Deirdre, is that right? So if she can roll into the iCare setup, she'll be making a fortune. It details that they have increased the price of the meals by 50p, which is not surprising given if you've read the inflation numbers yesterday and the price that food is spiralling at the minute. And it details how we're going to treat that. But I think we can agree that the price with the subsidy is fairly reasonable. The budget is detailed there of what we've spent and the fact that the spend is roughly in line with last year. So the proposal generally is try to maintain what we've done, to build it and increase it by advertising it more and looking for increased take-up. But given the uncertain times that we live in, we may see an increased take-up anyway because people will be perhaps finding the cost of living more challenging and all the rest of it. It's a good service. It offers that additional cover not just for the meals, but the fact that older and isolated people are checked up on, they have somebody to go and check up on them, see they're okay, alert family members or others if there's a problem beyond just a meal, around mental health issues or medical conditions or anything else. It's something we are rightly, as a council, proud of delivering, given that others have stopped doing this kind of service, and I would recommend the recommendations that we carried on for those 2 years. Any questions, comments? Bev Murray first, and then Mark Clifford.
I was just going to say, you mentioned about doing some advertising of it and promotion. Do we do anything with the hospital? You know, when people are getting admitted, well, out of hospital, discharged, that's it, discharged out of hospital, because it might be that we could do something there to increase take-up.
We don't.
It's a sensible idea, that.
No, we don't, but as Chris said,
That's a sensible idea from Ben.
a sensible idea.
I didn't say it was unusual.
He is retiring, he's dispensing nice words all over. Just not to me, just not to me. No, but a good idea, yeah. We'll look at doing that, and that is an area we need to push. Mark?
Thank you, Chair. I mean, the service looks absolutely fantastic. I see there has had to be a 50p rise. I presume that's to keep, you know, the nutritional element up. I mean, we all know about what the price of a lettuce is these days, and I just hope that this service can continue and serve the people of Chorley. Thank you.
I could comment, but I won't, because I'm not sure under duress I could say what the price of lettuce is. I think it depends on what type of lettuce you're talking about. Adrian.
Thank you, Chair. Welcome the report and to enter into the extension of the 2-year contract. Paragraph 20, the table, wonder whether there's, in order to boost the take-up rates, there's, whether we still do, is to, if we don't, improve the liaison with parish councils in certain areas to and other voluntary organisations to actually boost the take-up.
Noted, agreed, and given discussions last night at the Borough Parish Liaison, there's a lot of things we need to do with parish councils, and one of the is publicising things on notice boards, is it not, Councillor Berry? So we will look to do some of that work as well. Okay. Any other questions? Just looking at people who have dialed in, we've got a few people online tonight. Anybody? Any other questions or comments? No. In that case, then the proposal is as drafted in recommendations, paragraphs 2 and 3. Somebody second those, please. Thank you, Alistair. And all those in favour, please show. Excellent. Right, we are on to item 5, which is Bev Communities Cost of Living Action Plan.
Thank you, Chair. So this is just to let members know about Chorley Council's cost of living action plan. There's 5 themes to the plan. The first one is about partnership and coordination, which is the council working with other organisations, also working with other organisations to develop the household support fund, collaborating with local government partners, and developing an integrated health and local authority approach to delivering grants, as well as providing updates to key health and public services boards. The second theme is around communication. That's simply just making people aware that we've got a plan and how they access it and how they access help and where the organisations are. Third is data and evaluation and monitoring, which, as you would expect, is looking to make sure that the organisations are delivering what they say they are going to deliver, as well as looking at any gaps and gathering information to make decisions perhaps later on if we need to do any changes to the plan. The fourth one is on-the-ground activity, which many members will be aware of already because it's been ongoing for a while now, such as the development of choice-based food clubs, the HAF and the Household Support Fund. And the final theme is around psychological and wellbeing support, which is essentially about promoting healthy lifestyles, work, social prescribing, etc. So the purpose of the report is to approve the plans and allow delegation for any changes by the exec member, but it's also there if members have any feedback. I think it's quite important that members input into it, given that they may know something that's happening in their area. So if anybody's got any comments, we'd welcome them. Yeah, well, you've partly done it, but I just wanted to acknowledge the communities team actually, because they had quite a challenge first of all with COVID, where they had to change what they were doing and respond to that, and now they jumped straight into the cost of living. So I think we should acknowledge the work that they do, because dealing with people, especially vulnerable people, can be quite stressful and draining at times. So I think we should put it on record that we do acknowledge the work they do.
Indeed. Julia?
Yeah, it's just a bit worrying that we're not really getting sort of like a strategic view really from Lancashire County Council. Like the money's coming through, but we're trying to pull together what was essentially Chorley Together, which was everyone cooperating, collaborating, and doing a fantastic job in very dire circumstances. So have we got something similar to the Resilience Forum at Lancashire level that's got overarching, a sight of problems that are emerging? Because we still haven't bottomed how we're going to cope with the providing warm buildings and how we're going to equip the people in those buildings to deal with people presenting with crisis. It needs mapping out, and I think locally, as councillors and residents, we need reassuring that is properly mapped out.
In Chorley, we're talking about.
Well, do we start in Chorley for starters? But we need leadership coming from county as far as something similar to the Resilience Forum. Because I think this is just, we have COVID and we have the emerging issues, very, very significant, serious issues, a matter of life and death. The weather's gone really cold, with still people asleep on the street in Chorley, so, and I don't mean to alarm people, but it's urgent and we need that reassurance.
Can't do very much about county. Not a county councillor, but Chorley Together still meet, and the food group still meets regular, and they do exchange sort of information on what's going well, what's perhaps not going too well. The warm buildings, they're currently being mapped, and we're seeing who's got what and who can do perhaps a little bit more, because there's a bit concerned that if the council starts to put, I think the people that we need to help, we don't want a barrier to them accessing things, and I was just a little bit concerned that if the council puts something on, they may feel a little bit embarrassed maybe going, whereas if it's an established community group, they might feel more easy to access that support. So we are looking at that, and we do attend the Lancashire-wide Household Support Fund Forum and other energy-related forums across Lancashire as well.
Which is a network which our officers are involved in, with Jennifer nodding away, that we are involved in, which is, and the issue is being discussed at Lancs Leaders, because it was discussed today at Lancs Leaders. So there is a framework in place, whether it's quite a right framework, but at the moment it's more or less setting that framework up to kick in as and when. But the Resilience Forum kind of model will work if there's the demand to make it required. Let's put it that way. The pieces are all there. It just isn't named like that at this moment in time. And until it's required, it probably won't coalesce. But we are doing a lot in Chorley, and we are increasingly doing a lot across Lancashire. Does that make sense?
Sorry, I didn't mean that to come across as any criticism of Chorley. It's just about direction, knowing there's money coming, it's just frustration. Knowing that, I can go to my local Friends of Library group, and they're getting, the librarian, staff are getting very anxious about whether they're equipped and they want to do a good job, and they're very welcoming and inviting people. You can't win a library in Lancashire now where you can't get a brew and a biscuit and a hug, whatever. They're very, very welcoming and providing a good offer. But it's about stepping up and the appropriateness of, about getting the information out so they know how to signpost, because there are capability issues around volunteers and professional people who, might be out the depth or feel out the depths. And so we just need to, like I say, be a lot more proactive, and that's at every level of local government, because we're responsible. So thank you for all that you're doing.
Okay. I've got Sam Chapman, I think, was first hand up online. Sam?
Thank you, Chair. I was just wondering what the cost of living action plan was. So what budget's been allocated to it?
There are all sorts. It's coming out of the budget for the communities team, because obviously the works switched from what they were currently on, and it's so it'll be absorbed through that.
I could tell you what I asked county for and what they're giving us, which is about a third of what we asked for. But that was mainly to support community groups, so it's not out of our core budget, it's out of additional budget, Sam. So
Sorry, Sam. There is within the action plan there are pots of money coming from county, but the sort of the stuff that where it says ongoing or that we're doing is out of existing revenue. Not revenue. What's the word?
Budget.
Is it ready? Yeah.
is that okay, Sam?
Okay.
And I
Okay,
think,
thank you.
and my
Just
own
one-
point isn't so much, and I made that again today, isn't so much of what we've got now, it's what we can draw down if we need it. But at the moment, it's very hard to assess exactly what we need. What Bev's funding is what we're doing, but there might be the need to do a lot more, back to Julia's point, and therefore we're going to need that facility to get to more money. Obviously, if it's crisis in the short term, we'll fund it, but we need to know what the government is doing, which is a bit difficult to get hold of at the minute, and also what county is intending to do. It's becoming clearer, but it's still a bit murky.
Sorry, just to add to that, the other thing is as well with the household support grants and the holiday activities fund, it changes and varies, and sort of the first lot we had was for energy and different things, but the second lot came and pensioners had to be prioritised within it. So it depends what we're told from county and also from central government as well.
Okay, but members who are in Bev's team, but also members who are generally interested, can probably get more details as we're going along at different times, and we've not seen the worst of it yet, by a long way. Michelle Le Marinelle was next up.
Thanks, Alistair. Basically, I want to echo what Bev has said, that we do need to thank our communities team. I work very closely with my communities team, and I do think that they need the thanks sending down, because I know when I send in thanks, it's not getting back to the team. And secondly, my other point is, I'm concerned that if we're going to be taking some of the monies out of communities in the long term, because I don't want my communities, I've got a deprived area within my ward, and I don't want that suffering.
Go on, Bev.
No, it's that there's no plan to take money out of communities.
No.
Okay, I'm obviously misunderstood that, Bev, sorry.
Yeah. No, in fact, it's probably going to increase at the moment. Yeah. But it's where it comes from is the question. And there are lots of routes, including our own. Okay. James Nevitt.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. My first point, I was a little bit concerned about the writing of the report itself on page 24.16, which says, quote, there are no implications anticipated for equalities. I think, to be honest, that's absurd. This is the equalities topic of the day. In terms, cost of living is the crisis of the day, and this will affect people disproportionately. It will affect women disproportionately. It will affect single mothers disproportionately. It will affect young people trying to seek employment, and students, and also pensioners disproportionately to middle-aged people. So I'm sure Councillor Murray and others can agree, actually, there are some very serious equalities implications. Also, I think it would be good if we could try and see some more practical support that can be offered to families and households. The partnerships that we can set up through groups that have been proactive in showing things like Watchers Grow, Surely Help the Homeless, the Food Bank, Soup Kitchens, just coordinating that response. And also things that months ago we would have thought were pedantic and almost condescending, things like, have you tried shutting your kettle off at 80 degrees? Have you tried unplugging unnecessary appliances? Frankly, that's the stage that we're at now. I think we need that clear communication to families of ways we can all cut down on energy use, because frankly, as we know, a huge proportion of families this winter are facing the choice between heating and eating. If there's practical ways we can help them to reduce energy usage that isn't going to have detrimental impact on the day-to-day running of their household, I think we should be communicating that fully. And lastly, my other point, the plan as it was recommends setting perhaps a member learning session up to keep members updated, elected members updated on what we're doing on the cost of living. Actually, I think we should go a bit further. We need more participation from elected members, perhaps a council task force, because currently we've got all of these organisations doing all this hard work, particularly communities, which, as Councillor Marinell said, are doing a fantastic job. But we need a coordinated response to this crisis. And I think if, you know, councillors are often on that front line of communication with residents, if there's a regular means for councillors to communicate what the issues are within their wards, as Councillor Marinell said, I also represent a highly deprived ward in Chorley, but also a means by which we can get those regular updates, those regular communications that then we can feed back to residents. I think that would be a far more productive way to go about addressing the crisis. Thanks, Chair.
Bev?
Yeah, thank you, James. Just a couple of things. Help the Homeless, Home Start and CAB are the main people that are helping us deliver the Household Support Fund. And they've been really successful in reaching out to people. With regard to energy usage and telling people, you know, do this, do that, the other, I think really we have to be a bit careful about that, because I personally watch some things on telly and read things on Facebook, and I think it's actually quite patronising to some people. So I think if any messages we do put out need to be clear and sensible as well. Members learning session, yeah, we're going to have one, and we want more participation, and that's why this report has come to Cabinet. And one of the recommendations is that delegation is allowed for any changes, so it will be a plan that changes. And as I said previously, we are encouraging feedback from members, not just today, but ongoing.
Okay, James, that was a response. In terms of the equality and diversity, I'd ask Chris to confirm the impacts of that. I think any impacts probably will be positive impacts, given the way it's focused at certain groups, but we'll look at that as well. Is that okay, James? Yeah?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Thanks, Chair.
Sam Chapman, still got your hand up. Is that a legacy hand or a current hand or a new hand? Or
That's a current hand.
go on then, fire away, it's your turn again.
I can see a whole theme on data evaluation and monitoring, but I can't see any measures or any targets in the action plan that would tell us whether it's been successful or, given that we don't know how much we're spending on it, whether it represents good value. So how are we going to tell those things?
We do a lot of these groups that we work with. We already commission through different channels anyway. So we have regular monitoring, and they have regular targets that come back to us. I can get if there's anything specific you want about any particular part of it, I can get you some information.
No, you misunderstand. I was wondering how we tell that the whole plan has worked or not.
A compilation, in my view, of all those indicators that we are monitoring all the time about how they're interfacing with people, who they're interfacing with, and on increased need, there will be increased demand and increased service levels and all the rest of it. I don't see how we can set a target because we don't know the size of the problem we're facing at this point in time, but I think we can develop more measures as we're going along, that's for sure. I don't think we haven't got the baseline for a starter, so how can we do that? What we will do, though, is use the existing measures we measure and others to do that as we move forward. I imagine, Bev, is that right? Yeah. And I think we do know what we're spending on it. We just can't tell you right at this minute because it's coming from lots of different pots, but I'm sure that if a bit of work, we could probably give you a good estimate of what we're spending currently and be what we think we're going to need to spend based on what we've told others recently. And I'll update that in due course if you want, Sam, via the offices.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes, Councillor Margaret France.
Thanks, Chair. Just to say that it's a bit more difficult out in the sticks where there aren't any community assets in terms of libraries and the like. So far in Brinscoll, I've heard of 2 organisations who are opening after the half-term break and will open until March, offering a free hot meal once a week and they're both doing it off their own bats, and I want to know how they go about getting some financial support for this. One's a church organisation and the other one is a local community club. So they've already advertised this widely, and I'm expecting that people will turn up, and I think it's absolutely incredible that they're doing that. But they'll have to have staff there, they'll have to have the building heated at a time it wouldn't normally be, and they're providing a hot meal. So yeah, I think there needs to be some formula that they get some financial support early, because it's no good 3 months down the line, because they've got to buy the food now. Do you see what I mean?
Well,
Yeah, Margaret, I can ask Bernie to give you a call, because he does the Chorley Together food subgroup, so it might be that he can tap into that somewhere.
And the plan is... The plan is to have a network in the villages and close to people where people live, so to build that network up, because what we want is people accessing those services ideally through the local village hall or church hall or area, rather than having to travel all the way into the middle of Chorley or to the bigger villages to access that. So that's what we're trying to build at the minute. That's what the guys are mapping and what have you, and that's what we need. That's probably the single thing we need from council, is going back to James Nevitt's point, is who are doing that, and then we can talk to them about what they need, because we've at the moment took an estimate on a dozen villages, all with an organisation doing that. Now they might then do it Monday, Wednesday, Friday in one village, but the neighbouring village can do it Tuesday, Thursdays, and we can look to get that cover on a wider footprint. And I think, again, looking at Jennifer, bits up behind you, that's the intention we're trying to do across Chorley, because there is no point in doing one in every village on the same night or what have you. It's got to be a little bit work round. That's what we need to do. But I think it'll be an iterative or evolutionary process as we start to go into it, won't we? And we're working with those people at the moment who are nearest to us and dealing with them more and have the bed capacity. What we can maybe do is do some outreach work via them, but just get in touch and let the officers know what they're doing and what they think it's costing them extra to stay open those extra times. Okay. Any other questions or comments on that report? Okay. The proposal is to accept the recommendations in paragraphs 2 and 3, to receive those comments and to approve the plan and allow delegation for any changes to be approved by the executive member for early intervention. Somebody have... Thank you, Adrian, before I even asked. All those in favour, please show. Excellent. Item 6, Bev's you as well, West Pennine Moors Public Space Protection Order.
Yep. Thank you, Chair. At this current time, there's no formal controls upon the West Pennine Moors in place for antisocial and risk-taking behaviour. So, as members will be aware, in June 2018 there was a large fire at the top of Winter Hill, and fire crews spent 41 days up there along with other organisations. Since then, from February 2019 to September 2021, there's been further fire incidents up there. So it's proposed that, working with Bolton, Blackburn with Darwen councils, along with the fire and rescue services and United Utilities, we look to develop a response which would prevent and disrupt high-risk activities. So this report is to seek agreement to start that process with a statutory consultation exercise for the use of a public spaces protection order. And members will be aware that a public spaces protection order is a mechanism which tries to deal with negative impact of activities on the community with a fine of £100. It is, because it's only the start of a process, really. So until we've done this, it's like the first step, really. We need to get this through.
I think I'm going to go wax lyrical about fires on moors and the impact on the environment and all that, but that's fine.
I thought I'd leave Councillor Clifford to do the environmental impact.
You're just the warm-up act, are you then? Right, okay. Good stuff. Any questions, comment? Councillor Clifford, is there like a flash?
Thank you, Chair. No, I'm not going to do a long speech on this one. I just find, brilliant. This is much needed. It will benefit the wildlife on the moors. It benefits in terms of carbon capture. There's an awful lot of peat up there, which is it sequestrates carbon, and obviously fire damages all of that. And anything we can do to prevent fires has to be done. Excellent. Very happy to see it tonight, and thank you.
Blimey, Bev, you're getting all these compliments tonight. It won't last, no. Any other questions or comments at all on this report? I think it is eminently sensible. So the proposal is to start the process, do the recommendation in paragraph 2, to agree the commencement, etc., etc. Bev's proposed it. Somebody second that, please. Thank you, Alistair Morwood. All those in favour, please show. Excellent. That's passed and carried. Urgent business to be agreed with the chair. There is none that I'm aware of, unless anybody else has got any. I've not beaten Peter Wilson's record, but it was quite a brief meeting. Thank you for your attendance and enjoy the rest of your evening. However,